Hello, this is James Gutierrez, and this is your refresher to your R1 training. We are starting today with our job analysis. Now, what is a job analysis? A job analysis is the process of studying a job to determine its activities and responsibilities, as well as the qualifications necessary for performance of the job. Now, the reason we do a job analysis is because no two job descriptions are written alike. Even in the same company, you may have job descriptions that are not following a similar format. We use our job analysis as a way to pull out the relevant and important information so that as recruiters, we know what we are looking for. Now, the focus is on the people. In the context of recruitment, the job analysis helps us identify who is qualified and who is more desirable. It helps create buckets of priority so that we know who to reach out to first and who to put on the back burner. In terms of our job analysis template, we have 6 sections that we follow, starting with location. Location is important because we need to determine if this role would be required to report on site. Is it a remote role? Will they move if needed? Does the client pay for relocation? All of these things are factors that we need to consider when finding the right candidate. For example, if you have a role that is based in San Francisco and you find a candidate that is living in Los Angeles, it's approximately 6 hours away. And unless that role is remote, then they would not be suitable for that position. Alternatively, you also have requisitions, for example, of a role based in Texas. The candidate is based in New York. Would the candidate be willing to relocate? Does the client even offer relocation? These are all things that you would need to consider when you are sourcing for candidates, thus why location is an important element of our job analysis. Next, we go into requirements. Now, these are the required qualifications for the role. This can be said a multitude of different ways on a job description. For example, you can see it as basic requirement, minimum requirement, must have. Different companies will put this in different ways. Basically, what you're looking for are the degrees, years of experience, specific skills, tools or software. What does a candidate need to have in order to be qualified for the role? And again, when we talk about requirements, these are the minimum qualifications. Some examples or things that you can consider would be advanced knowledge of networking and relationship management, minimum of 5 years of internal or external auditing experience, or a working knowledge of audit management and process flow software. These are all examples of requirements that you may see on a job description. After requirements, we go to preferred. Now, these can be listed, the preferred qualifications can be listed various ways as well on a job description. For example, it could be indicated as preferred next to that particular qualification. It can also have is a plus, would be an advantage, is desired. Basically, preferred qualifications are elements that will make a candidate more desirable but are not required. This is what we can use to create priority buckets for our outreach to candidates. This could include special certifications, types of schools or rankings, specific industry experience. Basically, our job as executive recruiters is to find the best possible candidates for the role. And the best candidate or an ideal candidate would have not just the required qualifications, but also as many of the preferred qualifications as possible. This is where we add value for our clients. So we want to take note of what the preferred qualifications are so we know who to prioritize when we're reaching out to candidates. Some examples of preferred qualifications could be advanced degrees, specific experience, for example here, at least 3 years of experience in a legal environment, and then it's indicated preferred in parentheses, or experience in TMET industry and account management role is a plus. These are different ways that you may see preferred qualifications indicated on a job description. After the preferred qualifications, we look at the intangibles. These are indicated also in job descriptions, sometimes under preferred qualifications, sometimes under required qualifications, but these are elements that, while we do take note of, are going to be difficult to source for. For example, if you are looking purely at a paper screening, it would be difficult to determine if someone has a strong work ethic, to determine if someone works well in a fast-paced environment, to determine if someone has integrity. Now, we can get all of these implications from someone's profile, but until we actually speak with them and form a better holistic overview of that candidate, we would not be able to check these boxes off. They still are important, and they would fall under the other key elements section of our job analysis template. However, these are elements that would not necessarily help us when we are sourcing for candidates. You wouldn't exactly type in integrity into your search bar and hope to find the best candidates. Things to consider that can help indicate some of these intangibles could be personal investments, leadership training that was attended, any athletics that a candidate has gone to, any extracurricular activities from either school or outside of work. These are all indications towards the intangibles, but again, we would not be able to confirm these things until we actually speak to our candidates. After intangibles, we want to look at the competitors. Looking into your client's competitors can give you insight to your own requisitions. For example, you could look at what are some of the industry trends. What are the job levels for a particular role? For example, company A would have a data analyst and company B also has a data analyst, but they are ranked at different positions. The data analyst at company A is a more senior position versus a more junior position for the data analyst in company B. Even though they have the same job title, they have different rankings. So it is something that you would want to consider when you are looking for your candidates. Also, job titles is important. For example, company A could call the position a data analyst. Company B would call that same position a data engineer. They could have the same qualification requirements, however, they just call the role something different. For example, very popular in the US right now is people and culture rather than human resources. So what used to be called a human resource business partner is now being more readily called a people and culture business partner. Well, the background and the qualifications for a people and culture business partner are the same as an HR business partner. So we want to make sure that we're aware of the different job titles for similar roles and make sure that they are indeed similar roles. Lastly, we would also be able to get some information on the salary range. This would help us to determine whether or not a candidate is fit at the screening stage. Perhaps the competitors are offering a much higher salary that our clients would not be able to compete with. Or vice versa, our client is offering a very competitive salary, and it would indicate that we would be able to solicit passive candidates from our competitors' companies. Last but not least, we have the optimal profile. Now, the optimal profile will serve as your benchmark. It serves as a standard set by either the clients or through your hiring manager as a profile that you would want to find candidates who match said profile. This is a profile that you would basically use as a guide to find the best candidates for the role. An optimal profile is the perfect profile, has all of the required and the preferred qualifications. It will help guide you in picking and sourcing candidates that are appropriate for the role. You can gain additional insight from an optimal profile beyond the experience that they have in terms of where they worked, what industries they worked in, what particular skills they have. All of these could be used to identify new candidates for a similar position. Things that you would want to consider when you're looking at an optimal profile would include industry or past job experience, their educational degree, and any schools and skills rather, and tools or expertise that that candidate may have. Now, when you're working with an existing job description, things that you would want to take note of include the industry, job title, the company itself, any alternative job titles that may be applicable for that role, the location, all qualifications, both required and preferred, and of course, the salary. Now, just because we have a job description doesn't mean we completely understand the requisition itself. The requisition or the job description may leave some gaps in terms of our ability to understand what we are looking for in a candidate, and also how we could position this opportunity to the candidate when we eventually speak with them. So you want to make sure that you ask your hiring managers the right questions. Ask your hiring managers for information on how to best approach presenting this opportunity to candidates. Starts with, why should I work here? This is additional information about the company, as well as a brief description about the job. Now, this allows you to speak to your candidates and explain why this is a good opportunity without giving away too much information. Next, you want to understand what the client does not want. This will help you automatically filter out criteria that would not be applicable for the role, or criteria that may come up that is not included in your job description, but your client does not want to see. This can continue to change as requisitions stay open, because the hiring manager may notice some things from candidates that were submitted that they would like to omit. So making sure that you stay in communication with your client and with your hiring manager is crucial. While we do ask what the candidate does not want, it is also important to ask what the client does want. Now, we may have already identified what the client is not looking for, but it doesn't hurt to also ask the client, what do they want? What makes their ideal candidate? If we get their preferences, then we would be able to prioritize what we're looking for in terms of our sourcing. Sometimes you have a long list of qualifications, and our client would like you to focus on a few of those qualifications in particular. By understanding what those qualifications are, we would be able to prioritize our approach to sourcing and find candidates that are relevant to our clients. Lastly, what are the deal breakers? Now, a deal breaker is a non-negotiable. It is a disqualification or a must that a candidate should have. It is criteria that the candidate needs to have in order to pass, or if they do have, would automatically be removed. So making sure that you ask your clients what are potential deal breakers for that requisition is a good practice that you should always do. That's it for our refresher on job analysis. If you have any questions, please do reach out to your training team. Thank you.